largest predictor of a child's future success and happiness is the presence of a father in their life. Not even a particularly good one.
Children with involved fathers do better in over 50 different areas in their lives.
So just help us understand, how many children have you helped this year? How many fathers, how many mothers?
I just done the KPIs and we're up to 199 dads just this year and 67 mums as well. So
that's an extraordinary number.
If you're separating, go and get advice early on, because that's the dads that have come to me and got advice early on have not gone down that road because they've got the advice early on, they're prepared.
I always felt that fathers have a role setting the line as to where acceptable conduct lies.
Let me compose myself.
It's okay.
Yeah, so
thank you once again for joining me, James. It's always a pleasure to work with you. So for listeners new to James's Ark, who do you help and what does the charity do day to day?
So we help families, separated families. Mainly we're set up for fathers who are going through separation, divorce, who are trying to get access to their children. We've expanded to help mothers, children, sometimes grandparents, depending on the situation. The main outcomes are reconnecting children back with their fathers, if it's safe, and supporting better mental health in fathers as well as mothers. We've helped as well. They've come through the service, and we've now started to build relationships with children as well. So that can be through supported contact sessions in the community that are tailored to the child. That can be support groups, one-to-one mentoring, support through the court process, the prisoner reconnection program as well. So there's a wide variety of things that we do offer, and the wellbeing project, which is mainly around meditation and the Wim Hof Method.
So there's an awful lot to unpack there as we go through the course of the discussion. So let's try and paint a picture then. What is a good outcome for for a child? What changes in their week when things are going well?
So a good outcome for a child would be to reconnect them back with their father or their mother if they've lost access, should that be safe for the child. So how would that impact their week, their lives in general? So, well, we know that from studies, which Warren Farrell talks about, that children with involved fathers do better in over 50 different areas in their lives. So, I mean, this is a big statistic. So their lives drastically improve.
So we will talk about the impact of fathers more, but why not just give us a few sound bites as to the negative impact of an absent father?
The negative impact of an absent father. So without going off with stats and data, which we can all make up a stat and go with the data, if we look at case by case, children that I've worked with, so mental health becomes worse, especially when it starts secondary school, runaway youths from home, the substance misuse as well. They're more likely to be substance misuse, behaviour issues as well. So you've just got to go into the prison system and see that could be a dad-deprived boys centre, So, I mean, I speak with the prisoners, I speak with a lot of youths. I can speak about people close to me in my life who've lost access to their father, who didn't have a father growing up, and the impact that's had on their lives, like suicides, 63% high risk of suicides. They say 90% of runaway youths, homelessness, behaviour issues, absent from school. I'm sure any teachers listening can quote that. So they are very, very big issues when you look at it. And I mean, I'm just trying to visualise now people close to me, that have, had these, who haven't had the privilege of, a beautiful, involved father in their lives and how that's impacted them. So this is why this drives me even more.
There's an interesting statistic when I first started looking at gender pay about 10 years ago, in fact more than that now, is that the largest predictor of a child's future success and happiness is the presence of a father in their life, not even a particularly good one. So, yeah. So let's break out then. If someone is on the fence about contacting you, what happens when someone reaches out and what will they leave with?
So if someone reaches out, there was something mentioned not long ago on social media, as people mentioned, saying that we rely on families working together. And yes, we do. Like most agencies, we rely on families working together. So if people want to use the service for the better for their children, the outcomes are remarkable. So if they want to work together and they want to co-parent and they want to focus on the child and put their differences aside, the outcomes are remarkable.
I think this is an important point to make, actually. So this is actually about working with dads and mums to achieve better outcomes for the child. How would you go about achieving that?
So either a dad makes contact or a mum makes contact. So the mum may make contact saying, look, dad's struggling with mental health, dad's struggling with substance misuse. The child really wants to see their dad. I want some support in order to achieve that. Yeah. So we would obviously, as we mentioned before, we'd have to go down the right safety checks.
Of course.
So whether that be MASH referral, drug and alcohol, whatever we can do to try and help reduce them barriers. And the outcomes, again, we would go down the right. If every outcome was overcome, should we say, if every barrier was overcome, then we would reconnect, basically.
So that's interesting. So obviously working with you now for a while, I know that more people than ever are coming forward. So let's say compared to a year ago, who's reaching out to you and what's driving that increase?
Well, you could say outcomes, the positive outcomes. So the Wim Hof Method, costly. And remember, we get no government funding and we receive a lot of referrals from government. And a lot of the finances, the Wim Hof Method, which we're grateful for the funding we've received from other organisations, the outcomes for, it seems like an expensive cost, but it's not. He does us a great deal, Russ. The outcomes are remarkable. Again, using that word, they are. I mean, the guys have come to me, their conflict's been reduced, their mental health has improved, which then falls in line for them to then see their children. You've then got better fathers, you've then got calmer fathers, and then you've got happier ex-partners as well, because they're not engaging in the conflict, they're too relaxed, calm, they've dealt with their stuff, and obviously we then have to try and continue with that.
I think you touch on something remarkable, and we will probably come back to this later. But if you have a father going through separation who is estranged, they can feel pushed out, they can feel hard done by. What's the most important message you can give that person in that moment? We've
often said to stay calm, but it is a word. So how can they stay calm? Okay, so I believe I'm a solution-focused person. So how can we help them to stay calm? So we would then refer them. I don't have all the tools. So this is, if I don't have these tools, I'll find someone that's got them. Hence why I've brought you on board. So I will then go on to refer them over to Russ. And Russ will then do his magic, which is doing the Wim Hof Method, they will get 5 coaching sessions. Again, they have to want to engage. The help is there. If they want to engage, the help is there. So we can give them the tools. They will then go and see Russ. They'll do the 5 sessions with Russ. They'll do the breathing exercises. Then they'll do the ice bath at the end. And a lot of guys that have been to therapy have said they've been going to therapy for 2 years. They've done 5 sessions with Russ. Best they've ever felt. So quote me on that. And That is a lot of the guys we've sent there, and that is a lot of the outcomes that they've achieved. If they've done the sessions, they've got the outcomes, they've got the benefits.
So help us put in context, because that's extraordinary. So just help us understand, how many children have you helped this year? How many fathers? How many mothers?
So this year, I was looking at the data before. So when I first started keeping data, we registered in 2022 as a charity. We were running in 2020 as a support group. And then we registered as a charity in 2022. So I started keeping the data there. So it was 55 dads, which I thought was amazing back in 2022. So this year, so at the beginning of November, I just done the KPIs and we're up to 199 dads just this year and 67 mums as well. So
that's an extraordinary number. So that is 400 children?
Yeah, could say, 400 children. We don't always engage with the children.
Of course.
So if there is a session where we would need to hear the child's voice, or we were going to do like a reconnection, so the therapeutic supported family time, that would be tailored to the child. So we'd need to hear the child's voice, we'd speak to the child, make sure there were no safety concerns, and then we would then do our checks. The child would kind of, depending on the age, they would lead. Okay, they want to do this, they like tennis, they like football, or they like dancing, or they want to do gaming, whatever it was, and we would then hear their voice and they would lead the way.
Once people do come forward, the big gains often come from when the parents work together. So when co-parenting goes well, what does a child's week look like? What are you asking the co-parents to do?
So again, has to come from them. They have to want to co-parent. They have to want to overcome. And I get it. Sometimes we can want something, but our emotions are overtaking. So again, go to the wellbeing, outside organisations, get the referrals, use our wellbeing services, use the mentoring, use the coaching, follow the advice given. But a healthy co-parenting relationship is paramount for the child. So you can divorced parents, separated parents, children don't do well. Children don't do well because mainly they can't co-parent. If families of parents can co-parent, then the risk of the separation damaging the children drops dramatically. So when you look at a healthy co-parenting relationship, what would that look like? So my dream co-parenting relationship would be mum can come to the house, mum can pop in for a cup of tea. Mum is maybe saying, I'm going to be late for pickup. Dad says, not a problem, I've got nothing planned, it's okay. Or I may have something planned. Okay, don't sweat. Let's focus on the child. So mum can maybe pop in, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, have a chat. The child's watching that. Okay, mum and dad are separated. They're in two separate homes, but they're still united. They're still a unit. Another example could be, say mum phones and say, do you mind having the kids this weekend? I want to go out with my friends. I want to have a night out. I've had quite stress. I've had a lot on my work. Dad can say, check my calendar. Yeah, I've got nothing on. Yeah, I'm happy to, mix the days up, be a bit flexible. So having flexibility is important, and always being child focused is the outcome for the kids. That's going to be best.
Listening to that, it sounds like good communication amongst any two people. But what two habits would you say move the needle the fastest? Is it scripts, calendars, handovers? What would you say?
I would say, well, easier saying teamwork and working together, but you can have co-parenting apps. Some people don't need them because the relationship's that strong. But you can have co-parenting apps that can help. You can have shared calendars that can help. You can have a WhatsApp group that can maybe help between you. And going on courses, like even if you don't feel you need it, get the tools. If you think, but we're not going to go down that road, get the tools anyway. If you're separating, go and get advice early on, because that's the dads that have come to me and got advice early on have not gone down that road because they've got the advice early on. They're prepared, so they know what they could be facing. They know the traps, because there are the parenting traps of separation. So they're aware, they can avoid them pitfalls. So even with mums and dads, there's the Triple P Family Transitions course, which is a good course. You can do it on a one-to-one, which we run. You can also do it in a group setting, and you can also do it online in your own time. So that's the Triple P Family Transitions as well. And I know Millie's run a group, which is the Positive Parenting Group, I think. So you can go to Millie's, they run a group as well. And I'm sure government, JAFCAS actually runs some sessions on a one-to-one. So yeah, the help is out there. You just have to take it.
Thank you, James. So you've said the child's voice is a compass for those plans. So how do you help a child feel safe enough to speak up about what matters?
So if I'm working with a child, I have to build a relationship with them first. The stronger the relationship, the more likely they are to open up. So if I was to meet a child, which I've met quite a few recently, I wouldn't be going straight in with direct questions. You know, I would be building up that relationship with them. I would be seeing them sometimes as my own child. I'd be seeing them as me as a child as well, and trying to kind of like put myself in their shoes. But building a good relationship with them, building that trust, and listening to their voice and hearing their voice, and sometimes challenging their voice. Some people might not agree with that, and that wouldn't be in the first session, but you build that relationship up, then you can almost help them to see, are they being coerced? Are they being alienated? Are they being drip-fed information? Why sometimes is it okay for one parent to do stuff, but it's not okay for the other parent to have them behaviours? And I think that sometimes has been quite key to helping them realise stuff and being like, okay, I can see that now.
So personally, any good relationship has boundaries set. But when a relationship with dad has frayed, what's the sort of first small, safe step you could guide dad's families to try?
If the relationship's broken down between him and the child.
Or frayed.
So, yeah. Okay. So again, when I haven't had the tools, I've either got someone or I went and got them myself. So I've qualified therapeutic parenting coach now, and I've just started the trauma-informed practitioner course as well, which I'm running through, which has given me a lot of information on children impacted by trauma. So again, understanding the child and what tools can we give to parents to combat that. So giving dads better tools, giving mums better tools as well. So bonding is key. So building that relationship. One dad in particular that come to me, his relationship with his child had been frayed. We helped to rebuild that relationship. Started off with some therapeutic family time approaches, going out and doing things like Creepy Valley, going out and doing things like bowling, going out football, so different approaches, and actually doing like a guided visualized meditation with them both as well. So, which was quite a nice experience even for me to watch that. That relationship now has got stronger. There's been times he's come back for a bit of extra support, and I've given him the keys. So if the relationship maybe was being sabotaged by the other parent, I've said to him that he has to make that relationship solid with his child. So whatever that takes, I've given him information to do. So there was a bonding strategy which I sent him, which where him and the child had to pick a tool from different zones, and they had to then implement that into their week, whether that may be an activity, cooking together, tennis again together, whatever that activity may be, and then doing like a guided meditation. And that's what I do with my kids at night time, is we do with, and we use ChatGPT. We get a guided meditation that we do together, and I read it to him with background music, or my daughter, and they have to visualize, positive outcomes, which again, you're kind of helping them to visualize good things in their next day.
Amazing. So you also work, James, in some of the toughest settings, including prisons. So what does support inside the prison look like? Now, I know it will be different, but how is it different from your community work?
So I really enjoy it. Again, I'm not going to say it's challenging, because it's not. I enjoy the work. I'm blessed that the prison have brought me in and trusted me to be able to go in and do that work and work with some of these guys, and some mums as well I've helped. And I also offer aftercare when they leave prison, as good as I can offer, with being so busy. But I'm always on the end of the phone, and I always try and meet them every couple of weeks. So we offer that support. But it's also good to see the ones that have engaged in the aftercare. They haven't reoffended. So that's a big...
So in those early sessions, right, what do the men say they need the most?
So time.
How do you mean?
So they need to sit, listen, give them time, understand them, believe in them, is a big one. And a lot of them are very talented, have a lot to offer, sadly gone down the wrong path. No fathers is a big one. So no positive male role models in their lives. Who's going to teach them to be a man if they don't have a man in their lives? So it's about showing them positive masculinity. I think sometimes they can look to me and almost see that I care, see that I want what's best for them, and giving them a new hope, I suppose, really. But they all engage really well. I mean, they turn up to every session. I go up there every other Monday, and I go up there every other Tuesday. So I do the group and I do the one-to-ones. The group sessions, I was there this morning. We spoke about values as a father. We done 5 things they're grateful for, and then we done a meditation on them things that they're grateful for, to focus on them. One of the guys was writing down the things he was grateful for and burst out laughing, and I questioned him on that, and he said, "I can't believe I'm doing this. I actually feel like I'm changing." So, which was quite a positive thing to see. But and I was speaking to one of the wardens, and it was there. Sometimes people feel safer in prison because they're fed, they're watered, they have shelter, they have a gym, they have friendship, they're away from drugs, and then they're released into society, and they may be released back into the lion's den. So having, again, there needs to be more out there for people that are struggling. If they can't get work because of their criminal record, they're coming out to no accommodation. Where are they going to go?
You're going to survive, even if that's not on the good side of the line.
And it's not making excuses, because we almost have to be accountable as well. We have to be accountable for our actions. So, but we can help these people, give them a little bit of hope, just give them a little bit of a lift up.
So why does men working with men matter? And what changes when that dynamic is in place?
I think you can have a blend. Mm-hmm. Some women can help men because some men may need that more nurturing. But then men can offer something different. You know, you have that brotherhood. You have that, you know, you relate to each other. You can hold each other to account. There's that almost that role model, that masculinity that you need from each other as well.
So you're working with prisoners on an ongoing basis. What's the sort of early indicator that dad is turning a corner?
Laughing and saying, "Wow, I can't believe I'm doing this." That's a big indicator. But I think they're turning up every week. They're doing their homework. I've had some of the guys, we'd done the inner child work, which was really powerful. And I mean, I sat there and one of the guys he'd come back, he'd done his work. We'd done a guided meditation on meeting your inner child, which was really powerful. He had to then go and write a letter to his childhood self from who he is today. So he had to write a letter of the dad he is today to his childhood self, whatever age that may be, 5, 6, 7. And he had to write that letter. And what would he say to him? What would he say to that little boy? And I couldn't read it. I said to the guy, I said, I'm gonna have to read this on the bus with my sunglasses on. No, because it was touching, you know, and it shows the vulnerability of these guys. And I think things like that show that they're turning a corner, they're opening up. And if you can show empathy with people, and they know you're there to help them, you know you're there for the right reasons, they will open up to you and they will share with you. So sometimes when you come from a professional point of view, and we always have to try and come from a professional point of view, it doesn't work. If you show your own vulnerability, people are more likely going to open up to you.
So one of the items we wanted to unpack today is the importance of the role of a father in the healthy upbringing of a child. Yeah, be that a son or a daughter. So from my own experience, you know, children build self-control when, I guess, warmth, love, care meets clear, consistent limits. So, you know, an authority figure. In fact, UK cohort data suggests it's the quality of father engagement, not the number of hours per se, that links to fewer behavioral problems. So in your experience then, James, what does loving firmness look like in a contact session or a visit?
So, I mean, I can look at my own with my little boy. So he's still very young, so it's too early to tell. But if he's wanting to, currently, so he's very, very close to his mother, and he gravitates more towards his mother. And I don't take offense to that, right? But I have to almost say to him, look, you have to spend time with daddy, because I'm going to teach you how to be a man, you know, and what does that look like? So teaching my son how to be a man, it isn't what people think it is, where they call it toxic masculinity, which is an appalling word to use. It is showing him positive masculinity. So, and this is what I'd be teaching other dads, right? We have to lead by example. So I can shout at my son, it's not going to go in. Okay, I can tell him to do things, it's not going to go in. Children watch, they're watchers. So we have to be the role model rather than shouting, telling, you know, it doesn't go anywhere. You know.
So what are you doing instead?
I'm showing him the way. So how do I treat his mother? How do I speak to his mother? Okay, that is a big indicator of what a true man is going to be, or a true father. And he will watch that. Okay, if I'm shouting at his mum and I'm belittling his mum, that's not a good role model for him. Okay, so if I'm treating mum with respect, helping out around the house, coming back from work, spending one-to-one time with him. Like we say, we do our guided meditations at night, we do our reading, we go out on his bike, I show him the way. If my son falls off his bike, it's not as big a deal as when my daughter falls off his bike, right? Which is be seen as quite sexist, right? But as a father with your daughter, you are more protective. Whereas with your son, and I don't know why it happens, it just does happen, we're a little bit more, go out and face the world, stand up, brush it off, but I'm still going to be there for you. It doesn't mean I'm not going to give him a hug and a kiss and a cuddle, because I will, but there's a different protection between a father and a daughter and a father and a son. We kind of, our sons are going to follow in our footsteps, and there is a bit of stoicism. Again, people don't always agree with that, but we do need stoicism as men. We need to be able to control our emotions. And I think in terms of if we don't control our emotions, some of these guys that come to the groups, if they can't control their emotions, they're turning up to every battle, they're becoming more aggressive, they're becoming more abusive, they're becoming more abusive to their children. So we have to learn to be able to keep a lid on it, and then release it in the gym.
So I love the Stoic philosophy on a personal level. Let's talk about the respect, right? So mum and dad have split. Yeah, the children are cohabiting or staying with one and seeing the other, as is a typical relationship. When you as dad are continuing to show respect to mum, how does the child respond?
Well, so if I'm continuing to show respect to mum, the child sees respect, mirrors respect. I mean, if your children are watching their parents, say it's a boy and he's watching his father disrespect his mother, is he going to grow up and disrespect women?
Way more likely.
Yeah. So flip it. If you're then, again, we'll use a boy. If you're then watching a mother disrespect the father and push that father out of that child's life, what is that little boy seeing? Is he saying, okay, I'm a dad because I'll grow up to be a dad. Do I want to be a dad? That's how dads are treated? Or so I'm worthless. So I have no place in my children's life. Is he going to then grow up to abandon his own children because he doesn't see how important his role is, because his own mother hasn't shown that fatherhood's important? So, and they call that the fatherless cycle, which we see, a lot of guys I meet, a lot of women I meet, if it's a mother and she doesn't really see much value in fathers because she didn't have one, and vice versa. If there's a dad I'm helping, he's fighting for access to his kids, maybe mental health, drugs, in and out of prison. What was his childhood like? Lack of a father. So there is a pattern.
So we're talking about how dads, set limits. In my own life, my wife does probably the lion's share of the day-to-day disciplining as our children grew up. My role was more enforcing the line, and particularly where our girls were disrespectful to mum, making sure it's very, very clear that's totally unacceptable. So I always felt that fathers have a role setting the line as to where acceptable conduct lies. In your work groups, how do you coach men to be better dads?
So again, I suppose it's role modeling from me. So I could use some of my own parenting skills that I've learned, which has worked and hasn't worked, because we learn on the job, don't we? So I'd be coaching them. I'd be using some of the therapeutic parenting strategies I've learned, and I'd be guiding them to use them. I would model. I mean, my daughter's she's 11 years old. So if we look at the impact of having a dad in her life, how is she done? Right, she's at secondary school. She's 100% attendance, involved father. Not vaping, involved father. Not going out in the streets late at night, involved father. And we had, which is quite, and I'll tell this story because it was quite powerful, it was quite moving. So I took her out, and my little boy's away with his mum at the minute in Egypt, having his quality time with his favourite, his mum. So I think there's different stages. He'll gravitate towards me as he gets older. Right? We've got a great relationship, but he's a mummy's boy. And my daughter, I would say, is probably more a daddy's girl. So we had some quality time. We went out we booked a meal. I treated her to some new clothes. We had our bonding time. And we went to Hugo's. We had a meal. I pulled her chair out. I treated her like a lady. And we had a little dessert after. And then we went to Bohemia. And we had mocktails because I don't drink and she's not allowed to drink legally. So we had our mocktails and then we walked home. And as we were walking home, I linked her arm.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So it was. Let me compose myself.
It's okay.
Yeah, so so basically I explained to her why it's important to have that relationship with her dad. And
what did she say?
So I just mentioned that, because we're linking arms, I just mentioned the role of the traditional father is to treat her as a woman and how a woman should be treated, and she deserves no less than that. And it was my role to then walk her down the aisle and give her away to a man that I agree with. So he has to be a man that is of the same values of me. So he would have to come to me, ask for my blessing, and these are the traditional values which we spoke about. And I would say, okay, yeah, you're the right man for the job. And then I would walk her down the aisle, and I've done my work with that lady, and I give her away to this other man who I trust. And that is true stoicism. That is, for me, true fatherhood, and the traditional way of how it should happen. And more daughters deserve that from their fathers, right? And this is, I suppose, why I fight so hard for this. I'm not here trying to bring bad fathers into the picture and make them worse. I'm trying to bring fathers into the picture who the children deserve to have in their lives, and I'll do my best to make these better. I haven't got all the tools, but I'll do my best.
To me, hearing you talk, reflecting on my own relation with my two daughters, giving your daughters a loving, supportive platform, showing them how one should behave, showing them how to treat mum, even in your case, you're separated, apologizing when there has been a fight in the house, stepping up, being responsible, taking ownership, mending the rift, fixing the problems, loving them, supporting them, guiding them. These strike me as very admirable characters and characteristics. And therefore, there is no doubt why girls who become women, who have had a good father in their life, there is way less teenage pregnancy. There is way less self-esteem issues. There are way less self-harm issues. Yeah.
Big time. I mean, I suppose that's why I get emotional. I mean, it's an emotional subject because I've seen the damage the lack of a father can have on people close to me that I care about. And, I'm blessed to have two beautiful children, a boy and a girl, and blessed for both of them. And to see, you know, 'cause my daughter's at secondary school now, to see how she's growing up and to be proud of her, and to watch my son go through what he had to go through early, because he was a micro preemie, and he was touch and go whether he would be here today, you know. And again, I've had to fight for both my children, and that's my role, you know. And I think we had the discussion the other day, didn't we? You know, what do I do as a dad? There's a lot I do. Do I put myself first? No, I sacrifice my time every day for my children. I never put myself first. And if people disagree with that, I'll never change that. I will always put my children ahead of me, you know, always.
So one of the things we touched on when you were talking about the contact sessions, you mentioned a lot of things where dad and child, they went out for an activity, right? So one of the things where, you know, we're talking about how dad create better outcomes. So one of the clear examples in life is where fathers invite, how do we say, exploration while coaching safety. I think this is called the activation relationship. So this is letting and helping kids climb climbing frames, cycle on the roads, take risks with appropriate safeguards. My own daughter does fire poi, and yes, I did check that she douses her hair and there's fire extinguishers nearby, right?
Yeah.
But what an amazing thing. So what is one stretch but safe challenge you would recommend? You know, bike ride, new club, and how do you brief dads to coach it?
Mothers can be overprotective, but fathers, that's where we come in and try and balance it out. Not all mothers, some can be overprotective, too nurturing. And that's where we come as fathers to balance it out. That's why mothers and fathers work well together. We balance each other out. So
I agree. Mama bear protects her cubs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We understand.
So we, I would say, like, for example, bus journeys, okay, or cycling on the main roads. So a bus journey. So how I taught my daughter to get the bus on her own was, I went on the bus with her for the first time. We sat together and I said, right, you're going to press the button when we get off at the next stop. I'm not going to tell you. Okay. So she looks out the window, waits. Okay, here, ping. Okay, yeah. Then I slowly decided to go, right, I'm going to now sit at the back of the bus. I'm not going to tell you when to press the button. Pretend I'm not here. Just to wait, gets off. Then she gets off of the bus on her own and calls me. So that's kind of training her how to use public transport. And then to get to a stage where she gets the bus on her own, she walks to school on her own, teaching her the way to become responsible, to feel safe on her own as well. And then my little boy on his bike, he's tiny as well. So he's going to be 7. He's probably the size of a 4-year-old. So I have him on the roads with me around the estate. I go next to him and I guide with him, you know, so I kind of show him the way. But there's different ways of kind of showing your kids that dads, there's a way of what we do. If you look at sometimes, not all mums and dads will want to send their children out to the world with the tools, and then mums have that safe place back at home as well. So there's this called the secure base model, which I've posted recently, and we discussed that at the prison. Whereas children need to feel safe enough to go out into the world, but secure enough to come back home somewhere safe. And if you don't have a safe home for your children to come back to, you're leaving them in danger. You know, they need to be able to come back to a safe, secure, stable environment, but we need to also give them the tools to go out and face the world.
It's interesting you talk about cycling. So I remember teaching my daughters to cycle, And I distinctly remember teaching them to navigate the Five Oaks roundabout. Yeah, in rush hour as they go to school. And I think it's important to say how terrified I was, but also my objective I had in my mind was that in 2 years' time, she had to be able to do that on her own, safely, responsibly. And so nurturing her through the, I'll show you when to cross, you tell me when to go, to letting go completely, and like you say, shadowing, you're at the back of the bus type of stuff. I remember doing that with my own
the
daughters.
Signals as well. So when they've got their arm out, right, that's right, you turn them right, slow down, turn right. Okay, you can panic a little bit, but I think and they're the types of things that, and I think sometimes if you're a single mother and you're raising children on your own, it's hard. And I have a lot of respect for single mothers. If the fathers may have abandoned or they've died, it's hard to be able to raise children on your own, to be able to step in and help with them activities as well.
I think it's an important point to say, actually. This is about showing the importance of both. Yeah. So we were talking before about children copy what they see. So showing up, repairing a relationship, following through, doing what you said you would do, to me teaches accountability. Father emotional engagement, whether they are resident or not, is clearly and undeniably linked with lower teen risk behaviours in both sexes. In actual fact, UK reviews show that where the sort of levers to good engagements are things like warm style, father confidence, low paternal conflict, not just task time. So when dads own the outcome, turning up, apologising, keeping contact promises, what changes for the child?
So if dad shows up, well, you see improvements in their mental health. Kids then feel loved. And again, just look at my little boy.
Simple things.
Yeah, he's a amazing relationship with mum and his dad's. No conflict. He's actually doing better at school. And my daughter, great relationship with her mum and dad, doing amazing at school. So behaviour issues, improvements. You got to look at the end outcomes. So if you reconnect that child back with their father, I was just before the podcast, I was talking there, one of the dads that I helped after 5 years where the mum and dad had quite heavy conflict. They come to the charity, they work together, they followed the advice, they put their differences aside. The little boy went through the 6 sessions of Contacts. He is now, I went up to South Hill boxing gym and he's in there with his dad boxing, and
amazing.
Better mental health, back at school, massive improvements in his behaviour as well. So, it's not just helping the child, it's helping the dad, it's helping the mum, it's helping the future society, we're helping the community, lower crime rates.
So when you're coaching dads, what sort of simple weekly rituals, day-to-day check-ins would you recommend? What would you ask them to keep front and centre?
So it's tailored to each individual. So one of the one recently, which I spoke about, the different zones, zone 1, 2 and 3, I thought that was a really good one because he went off and he'd done them activities with the children. They're called like bonding tools. He went and done them activities, and I had a catch up with him today, and things are going really, really well. The boys staying overnight more, and we obviously now have to look at what the next steps are. But I would say the things that help holding them to account as well in terms of controlling the emotions. So if it has been emotional regulation, look at children. How do we teach children to regulate their emotions? We can do the same with adults, so Breathing techniques.
Yeah.
Simple breathing techniques.
Count to 10.
What are the barriers? Why does he keep tripping up? Why does he keep losing his temper? What does the child need? So one of the things I think some of the dads and mums struggle with, but we say mainly dads struggle with, is that we look at the ways we were parented by our fathers, okay? And our fathers were raised in a different generation, and so were we. These children today, they're not the same types of children, right? They're being raised, there's less discipline, there is more technology, more dopamine, the food's different, so diet, less exercise, so we're raising different children, so we have to look at different ways of parenting. So it's giving them these different tools. So, like, when my dad would shout at me, I would listen. I'd get scared, I'd listen. But today, if you shout at your kids, they don't necessarily listen. But what also happens is they will then, if it's in a separated family, they will then go back and tell the mum, Daddy shouted at me. Mum will then stop contact. Child doesn't go back to daddy's house, then that impacts the child. Dad has to then tiptoe around every time he's with his child. So it's kind of giving dad different tools. Okay, look, if we shout, yeah, okay, we all shout. And this is one of the things I spoke to a child about. Do you shout? Yeah, I shout. Do you get angry? Yeah, I get angry. Does mummy get angry? Mummy gets angry, yeah. Does your stepdad get angry? Yeah, stepdad gets angry. Okay, so why wasn't it okay for dad to get angry? And the clock ticks. But then the question was, did dad repair what he'd done when he shouted? No, he didn't. Okay, I will speak to daddy about that. I will challenge him on that, and I will make sure he apologises, because we have to repair what we've done. So we can make mistakes because we're all human, but we have to repair them mistakes as well. So it's, again, holding kids to account, holding dads to account, but then giving him tools like breathing techniques, making sure he's exercising, making sure he's looking after his own well-being.
A wonderful statement. So, conscious of time, thank you obviously for taking the time to chat things through again today. Let's so throughout this then, the thread through today, it's about the quality of engagement that beats minutes of engagement. So warmth, limits, brave coaching, repairing damage, holding yourself and others to account. If a mum is listening now and is in the thick of a separation right now, what's the one message you would like her to take from today?
Understanding the father's role, because mothers and fathers both play a very important part in a child's life, but they both parent differently, but complement each other in the same way.
And for balance, let's also ask that same question. If there's a dad listening, going through a difficult separation, maybe he's feeling shut out, he's been asked to leave his home, what's the one message you have for him?
Stay calm. Don't react. Reach out for some help, and just stay respectful of the mother and always focus on the child.
Amen.
Amen.
So thank you very much, James, for taking the time to speak with me today. If any of this obviously resonates with the listeners and they want help, please reach out to James's Ark in James. If you're a dad wondering where to start this week, I think, pick one boundary, one stretch challenge, and one repair action, and follow through. The research suggests those small steps compound. Thank you, James, for your insight. Thank you, as always, for the wonderful work you do.
Thanks, Stuart.